Hello everyone! Tonight, we are gathered around a photograph that shouldn't exist, but does. Its frame is cracked, the colors too vivid where they shouldn't be, and someone or something has always blinked back even when no one should have. You are here! In the present. Standing in the attic your uncle warned you about, not because it's cursed though, that would be helpful, but because he said the insulation was poor and the air was full of moods. You didn't know air could carry moods. Now you do. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You hold the photo by its splintered edge because the last person who touched it without gloves developed a rash in the shape of a tiny pupil across their palm. It blinked. Once. Never again. The image itself is ordinary at first glance. A family of 7 seated stiffly in front of a summer curtain. The kind of fake floral backdrop popular in the 1890s, painted hastily by traveling photographers. 5 generations stand represented, 3 of them clearly annoyed at being asked to wear wool in summer. One girl squints against the sun. One boy holds a wooden horse that no longer exists. One eye stares where no face should be. It isn't floating, that would be too easy, it's just there, inside a boy's cheek, just beneath the skin like it forgot where it was supposed to go. Generations later, your grandmother would joke, "We've all got secrets in our smiles." You thought it meant cavities. She never laughed when you repeated it. This isn't the only photo. Every decade another appears. Never taken, just found. In drawers buried in walls slid between book pages, always a family. Always one too many eyes. You didn't believe it until last year. Until your cousin showed you a Polaroid from the 70s where Aunt Harriet winked from her temple and not with her eyelid. They burned that photo. The next day it was back on the fridge with a magnet that read, "I'm watching you." Your aunt swears she never owned that magnet. But she did start sleeping with sunglasses on. The attic air is warmer than it should be. You notice this slowly, as if your skin were the last to get the message. The insulation is bad, sure, but not enough to explain why your breath now sounds like someone else's exhale. You reach for the box labeled Old Frames, because what else would they call it, and underneath a stack of cracked glass and bent tin, it waits. A new photo. You recognize the room. It's the dining hall downstairs, but it's not now, it's then. There's no electric light, only gas. And the table is full of food no one alive remembers how to cook. Your great-grandfather stands at the head. He's smiling with all the teeth of someone who never really smiled in life. The child in the foreground is blurry because he moved, but the thing behind him did not. There it is again, the eye. It always appears in the same shape but in different places, this time a pearl-colored sphere nestled in the hollow of a glass decanter. Not reflecting, just watching. One ancient historian once speculated that early Mesopotamian amulets, those carved with concentric circles of lapis and ivory, were designed not to protect from the evil eye but to house it. Like a bird in a cage. "Keep your curses close," she wrote, "so you always know where they are." The paper was dismissed by peers. Some researchers still argue whether those carvings were spiritual symbols or just fancy jewelry. But then again, most of those researchers wore sunglasses to the review meeting. You consider showing the photo to someone. But whom you've learned better. The last person you showed it to, your friend from university, joked that he could see 2 extra eyes. You laughed. So did he. But now he no longer appears in any photo you own. Not erased, just not there. Some things can't be explained. Like how your left ear itches when you're near this photo. Or how you always dream in sepia the night after you touch it. Or how the eye only seems to appear in families that lived in this house even if they didn't remember doing so. You turn the photo over. A date is scrawled there, August 3rd, 1891. The day we all saw it. Below that, written in another hand years later, "I think it saw us first. You've been told to destroy it. You won't. You'll hide it, of course, like everyone does, because even though it's unsettling, there's something comforting in the ritual. In believing that if you control where it is, maybe you're not the one being watched. Maybe. The light in the attic dims slightly. You haven't touched the bulb. The fan you left on in the hallway clicks off. That's not the scary part. The scary part is that no one else is home and you don't own a fan. A gentle warning etched in the dust above the window reads, "Close your eyes before midnight." You didn't write it, but it's in your handwriting. And still, the photo warms in your hand, like it remembers being held before. The photo doesn't ask to be seen, but it stays seen once you've seen it. That's the problem. You put it back into the box and slide it under the old attic cot, the one no one uses except during long storms or family guilt trips. It doesn't matter where you hide it. The photo always waits where it knows you'll find it next. Last time it reappeared in your sock drawer. Before that, under the cake dome no one had touched since your mother's third wedding. Tonight you dream of stairs. You dream you're walking up to the attic again, but your legs keep moving like you're descending. With every step, the ceiling tilts further away. Someone is speaking behind you in a dialect that smells like cedar and salt. It doesn't make sense until you wake up and find a splinter of wood clutched in your palm, warm and old and painted faintly with red. You are no longer sure what you inherited. Property, photos, a story, maybe an obligation. By morning, a new envelope has slid under the front door. Inside is another photograph. Your handwriting across the back reads, "Don't look at the left window," which naturally is the first thing you do. There's nothing unusual at first, but your cousin, the one who ran away to study beetles and never came back for Christmas, appears in the window's glare. Except it isn't his face. It's his posture, his outline, his clothes, and an eye too wide to awake to hear. You never knew you could recognize someone by their absence of blinking. The photo is older than the ink. Some researchers once noted that early lenses, those polished obsidian discs used by the Olmec and other pre-Columbian cultures, were capable of magnifying sunlight and firelight. They believed they were for ritual use only. One scholar suggested they were used to focus not just vision but presence. She was later accused of academic melodrama. Still, her obituary photo had an odd shadow in the corner. It wasn't retracted, but no one could agree whether it was an editing error or just a very attentive smudge. In the days that follow, you begin noticing patterns. Each photograph, regardless of era or subject, has three constants: a child, looking slightly away, a crooked item in the background, and an eye that doesn't belong. You test this theory with your own image. You take a selfie in the hallway mirror, upload it, print it. There's no eye. You feel triumphant until 3 nights later when your printer coughs out a fresh copy unrequested. And in this one, your reflection has too many irises. You don't tell anyone, not anymore. When you were 8, you once mentioned the mirror people to your babysitter. She smiled, then told you they were real. "They're the backup," she said too casually. "In case something happens to us." You laughed. She didn't. She left that night and was never spoken of again. Your parents claimed she'd moved, but they always said it while blinking too much, as if their eyes were remembering for them. There is, of course, the room. You haven't gone in since the last funeral. It's not forbidden. It's just inconvenient, always colder than the rest of the house, always faintly humming. It's the kind of room people say is just old or poorly insulated, and yet the carpet is newer than you. The window overlooks nothing, which shouldn't be possible because the house is surrounded by neighbors. But the view is always just fog, even on sunny days. You go in anyway. The moment you step through the humming pauses, it waits. You realize with unease that you expected that the house always pauses when someone listens. You place the photograph on the shelf beside the others, careful not to disturb the cracked frame holding your grandfather's wedding day. In that one, your grandmother's eye is perfectly normal, but the cake has an extra tier, and on that tier sits, you don't know what. It's shaped like an eye, but it might be a fruit. You hope it's a fruit. Still, the candles burned too long that day and no one remembered blowing them out. Outside the room, time resumes. You check your phone. The battery is at 3% even though you haven't used it. You plug it in. It drops to 2%. You begin to wonder whether the photographs feed on attention. Whether memory is a kind of offering. A small footstep above you, bare soft, not heavy enough to be yours. The attic again. You return because not returning always seems worse. The light bulb has blown, but the attic is lit. Moonlight spills through the side window even though the moon is nowhere in the sky. And someone has left out a toy horse. The same wooden horse from the oldest photo. It's newer now. You don't touch it. That's joke 1. Never touch anything that reappears cleaner than it left. Instead, you look around. A mirror has been propped against the far wall. Not yours. Not anyone's. The glass is wrong, it reflects too much. Not just you, but your possible yous. One version frowns. One smiles with too many teeth. One tilts her head and blinks once. And then again, just a beat out of sync. The photos in the box are all blank now, save one. The most recent. In it, the eye has shifted again. This time it's inside the firelight. A glow with a pupil. You hadn't lit a fire that day, but the glow follows you home in your dreams. Some nights it sits at the foot of your bed and hums, and you find soot on your pillow come morning. There are rules, of course, though no one ever wrote them down. You gather them the way moss gathers on stone, quietly over time and only when no one's looking. Rule 1. The photos are older than the house. You confirmed it last week cross-checking dates with the town archives. Your great-great-aunt Martha appears in a daguerreotype labeled 1853, the house deed 1884. Her dress is unmistakable, a velvet bodice with carved buttons rare for someone her age at the time. But more distinct is the lace curtain behind her, stitched in a pattern you recognized from the sitting room window, which was custom-made in 1971. Somehow the photo remembered a room that wouldn't exist for another 100 years. Rule 2. Don't speak of the eye out loud. A few weeks ago, you whispered something, just a theory, barely a sentence, to your reflection. That night, your voice cracked mid-sleep. You woke with a sore throat and the faint echo of your own voice repeating itself from the wardrobe. Not a recording, not quite a hallucination, just something patiently rehearsing. You've learned to think very quietly. The photos begin to rearrange themselves, not drastically. Just a frame moved 2 inches to the left. A new crack across the glass shaped like a teardrop. You begin to suspect that the photographs aren't still images at all, but paused ones. And if you leave them too long, they keep playing. Not forward, not backward, just deeper. Some researchers believe that early humans may have feared not being seen more than being hunted. That eyes, whether painted on cave walls or etched into pottery, weren't just symbols of protection, but invitations. Observe me so I can exist. A Mesolithic carving in the Ukraine features concentric circles with blackened centers. They were once thought to represent suns. Now, some archaeologists propose they may have been eyes drawn for the dead, so their ghosts could see themselves out. You find yourself blinking more often now. Not because your eyes are dry, but because they itch, not on the surface but behind, as if something's growing inward, looking out. That's joke 1 for today. If you ever feel like your eyes are watching you back, you're probably right, but it's nothing personal. The latest photo arrives wrapped in waxed paper. No note, just a smear of soot on the edge like it passed through a chimney on the way here. You open it under the kitchen light, careful not to touch the image directly. There's the family again, except now it's smaller. Just 3 people. A woman holding a candle that doesn't cast light. A child whose shadow goes the wrong direction. And a man staring directly at you with no visible pupils at all. His mouth is open, inside another eye. You close the photo, place it in a drawer. Open the drawer again 5 minutes later, it's gone. Joke 2. You're not losing things. You're just participating in a more advanced form of hide-and-seek one, where the seeker doesn't need feet, just memory. You begin documenting. Not online. No one believes those posts anyway. And besides, you've noticed photos shared digitally blur in odd ways. Pixels crawl, borders twist. On more than one occasion, the Share to Cloud button has simply vanished. Instead, you keep a journal. It's red, leather-bound. You bought it from a traveling bookseller who wore too many scarves and smelled like salt. When you mentioned your attic, he flinched slightly, then handed you the journal for free and said, "Write backwards if it starts blinking." He didn't explain. You didn't ask. He wasn't there the next day. You write down everything: dates, weather, which direction the fan was pointing when the eye appeared. You begin noticing correlations. Tuesdays are safest. Rain helps. The eye hates mirrors but loves puddles. One entry dated last Friday simply reads, "I saw myself walking away, but I didn't go anywhere." You find a hidden envelope inside the journal cover. It's addressed to the last one who notices. Inside a photograph, older than any other. It's not printed on paper but on a surface like bark. The ink smells faintly of burnt sugar and rust. The photo shows a circle of stones around a dark well. No people, no houses, just the stones, and inside them, something like a flame with a gaze. You realize slowly that the location is familiar, not from memory, but from dream. It's the clearing near your old summer camp. The one that never had birds. You wonder who took the photo. Some folklorists once wrote of an old superstition in which a photo could trap part of the soul. Yes, but only if the soul had somewhere to go. Eyes in photographs were not feared because they were seen, the account reads, but because they were still looking. The writer later amended their notes, replacing soul with echo, but their final line remains, "Never photograph what is already watching." Joke 3. If your photo album ever winks at you, don't wink back. It's not flirting, it's remembering. That night you hear footsteps again. Not above, but below. You descend the stairs. The hallway is darker than it should be. You hold your phone up like a torch, but the flashlight flickers with each step. At the end of the hall, the sitting room door is open. A breeze you can't explain has lifted the edges of the family photo on the wall, and behind it, carved into the wood, is another eye. You don't scream, you don't run. You understand now that it doesn't want you frightened, it wants you aware. You reach for the photo, and it blinks. The blink was not fast, it lingered. Slow, sticky, deliberate, as though the eye had never closed before and wanted to savor the sensation. The photo feels heavier now. You place it on the floor gently, like a sleeping animal. It's warmer than your hands, warmer than the room, warm in the way only things that think can be. Later, you will remember that night not by what you saw, but by what you didn't. Your own reflection is gone from the hallway mirror. Not warped, not missing, just replaced. Someone else stands where you should be, wearing your sweater, tilting their head the wrong way, smiling just slightly off-center. You wipe the mirror. The image doesn't move. You turn away and the sound of breathing continues from behind the glass. Some researchers still argue whether ancient Etruscan burial masks were symbolic or functional. One hypothesis, largely dismissed, suggests they were meant not to hide the dead, but to give them new identities. A second face for a second life, the author wrote. His footnotes mention ritual inscriptions carved with unblinking eyes, always in odd numbers. He died during his final research trip just days before publishing. His editor claimed the manuscript rearranged itself every night. You return to the attic the next morning, not because you want to, because it's the only place left where the light doesn't flicker. The old wooden horse is still there, dustless, waiting. This time you take it. That's joke 1. Congratulations. You've just invited a memory into your home and it brought luggage. Carved into the base of the horse is a date. August 3rd, 1891. The same date from the back of the photo. Beneath it, an initial E. Your grandmother's middle name. Her birth record said Elaine, but her letters always signed EY. You never asked why. You find her letters in a tin under the floorboards. Carefully folded, each sealed with wax that smells faintly of cinnamon and ink. In one, she writes to a cousin you've never heard of. If it shows up in your dreams, don't speak. If it shows up in your hands, don't sleep. And if it shows up in your eyes, well, just remember to blink, darling. They do forget sometimes. You realize she was trying to leave you instructions, or warnings, or both. You flip through your family photo album again. The one from the hallway. You were in most of these, or you should be, but now it's getting harder to find yourself. In one, you're cut off at the frame. In another, you're in the background, turned away. In the newest one, you're not there at all, but someone is wearing your favorite coat. They wave. You slam the book shut. That's joke 2. You can't ghost your own family. But apparently, they can ghost you. At sunset, you visit the room again. You bring the wooden horse, the red journal, and the envelope from the bark-printed photo. The fog outside the window is thicker now, moving slightly like it's breathing. You place the horse on the floor. It rocks slowly once. You open the journal, writing backwards just in case. You list everything: the eyes, the voices, the soot, the extra reflection. You tear the page out and press it against the mirror. It sticks without tape. You've stopped asking why. That question opens too many doors. You ask where. As in, where's the eye going next? Some folkloric accounts mention a family curse tied to sight. One Germanic legend tells of a bloodline where each generation was born with a third eye that only opened when someone in the village lied. Eventually, they stopped speaking altogether. Not because of fear, but to protect each other from knowing too much. The tale ends with the youngest child drawing a door on the wall with chalk and walking through it. Some say it was metaphor. Others note the house stood abandoned for 2 centuries afterward, and yet always smelled like chalk dust. You check the chalkboard in your kitchen. You haven't written on it in weeks. But today, a circle with a pupil is etched there, underneath dinner at 7. Dinner. You live alone. That's joke 3. If a ghost ever schedules your dinner, at least it's polite. The power cuts out at 6:42. You light a candle. The one your mother gave you just in case something follows you home. She was always vague like that. Vague. You sit, you wait. 7:00 comes and goes. At 7:08, your doorbell rings. You look through the peephole. There's no one there. But pressed against the glass at eye level is a photograph. Fresh, wet with dew. You open the door. The photo drops to your feet. In this one, the house is older, burned at the edges, covered in vines. But the window shows a figure. You know the outline. You know the way it tilts its head. It's you. And behind you, just out of frame, a second figure. It's always just out of frame. You don't go outside. You don't look further. You pick up the photo, and for the first time, you feel your eye twitch just slightly, just once. The mirror in the hallway is no longer reflective. It's just showing the photo now. You feel a warmth behind your cheekbone. The warmth behind your cheekbone hasn't gone away. It pulses slowly, not painfully, but insistently, like a memory that started humming its own tune beneath your skin. You press your palm to the side of your face. Nothing unusual. But your fingertips come away with a faint trace of soot. That's not metaphor. It smudges the paper when you write. You sit in the room. It's quieter now. Not in a peaceful way, more like the quiet that comes after someone presses pause during a long, slow sentence. The photographs on the walls have stopped blinking. Or maybe they're just waiting for you to blink first. That's how it works, isn't it? The journal feels heavier than before. You open it. There's a new entry written in a hand that is almost yours, but not quite. If you can see the eye, then the eye can rest. You flip the page. If you see it in someone else, look away. If you see it in yourself, it's already too late. The next page is blank. You test the mirror. Still no reflection. You wave your hand, no response. But behind the glass, in the place where your eyes should be, 2 faint circles pulse like dying stars. The eye is moving in. This is not possession. This is inheritance. Some researchers speculate that early lenses, particularly polished amber and volcanic glass, weren't just tools for magnifying. They were part of rituals designed to focus the soul. A controversial theory suggests these objects weren't looking outward, but inward, aimed not at the world, but the self. To see yourself clearly, one scholar wrote, is the most dangerous act of all. She went missing during her fieldwork in Iceland. The only clue left behind, a photo face down with no image when flipped, just a faint warmth and a name etched into the back. Hers. You sit in the attic one last time. Not because you want to, because the house has stopped giving you a choice. The fan is on again. You never fixed it. You don't know where it's plugged in. This time the photo box is already open. No lid, no dust, no hesitation. There are two new photos. One shows the family again, but seated at a much longer table. Too long. The proportions don't make sense. Everyone is staring forward. Their expressions blank, but their pupils dilated, as if something just beyond the lens is incredibly bright or incredibly dark. You look closer. One of the figures is you. Not might be. Not would be. It is you. Same freckle, same shirt, but the you in the photo is smiling wider, not in joy, in relief. The second photo shows the same scene, but this time, every figure has an extra eye. Some in their palms, some on their necks, some hidden behind ears, winking between strands of hair. You check your own reflection in the blank window pane. For just a moment, you think you see it. Right under your left cheekbone, a slight shimmer, a twitch. That's joke one. You're not hallucinating, you're adjusting. You hold the photo against your chest. It's warm again. You can feel it sinking with your breath. Each inhale feels shallower, not out of fear, out of recognition. As if you've been holding this breath for generations. You hear something now, not a footstep, not a whisper. It's your name spoken, not aloud, but remembered. From inside the wood of the house, from the grain of the floorboards, from the walls that once held mirrors and now hold doorways. You understand finally what the eye is. It's not a curse, not a watcher. It's a recorder. And you are becoming part of the record. You take the journal. Write one last thing. The eye doesn't haunt the house. It is the house. You place the photo back in the box, close it. The lid seals on its own. Downstairs, the dining room door opens. No one is there. And in the photo still pressed to the hallway mirror, every figure blinks at once. You don't scream. That wouldn't help. Instead, you sit and blink back. Long after the house is sold and the name on the deed fades under mildew and dust, the photo remains. Framed neatly, hung on the wall of a family who doesn't yet know they're part of the story. The eye watches no one. It simply waits. For breath, for warmth, for attention. And in each generation there is one who notices the pattern, one who feels the warm spot behind the cheek, one who listens to the hum that others call silence. They'll open a drawer and find a photo that wasn't taken. They'll blink, and it will blink back. But only if they look too long. Only if they listen at the right time. Only if they already belong. The rest of us. We pass through unrecorded. But you've looked. And now you are part of the frame.